I think it kind of has to be like deeper than like, well, if you stick to it, it'll happen eventually. I feel like you kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that, oh, like maybe it'll never happen, right? Like I know this is a risk and it may never work out, but my life will be more fulfilling when it's all said and done because I took the risk than having never taken the risk in the first place.
Ever wonder how top DJs actually built their careers?
I had to do 15 years of hard work to get any of the recognition that I wanted.
Where I saw a turning point in my career is when I became true to myself.
From marketing and mindset to networking and negotiation, I'm giving you the tools you need to build a lasting career in dance music.
Give them bits of you and your everyday life.
You have to change the way you view the word no. Like me, I'm encouraged by it.
Join me, Olivia Mancuso, and industry leaders as we reveal what it really takes to turn your passion into profit. This is Elevated Frequencies. Welcome to your weekly elevation, your dose of real strategies for real results in dance music. I'm Olivia, and today's conversation is with someone who's cracked the code on expanding beyond your home market without burning out your bank account or your reputation. Jeff Sorkowitz's approach to building his short circuit label has taken him from Miami and New York to markets like Chicago, where he's successfully thrown label showcases by connecting with independent promoters who also share his vision. And what's fascinating about his strategy is just how organic it feels. He's not like following this aggressive playbook for expansion or forcing his way into new cities. Instead, he's figured out how to identify the right partners in each market, build genuine relationships with local promoters, and create events that feel authentic to each scene while maintaining his label's integrity and identity. His journey from corporate lawyer to multi-market label owner offers insights that go far beyond typical networking advice. This is about sustainable expansion and building a network that actually supports your long-term goals. So let's dive in. When I asked you like what you wanted to talk about, I feel like you have such a diverse range of topics, but networking came to mind because everyone is so obsessed with networking in this industry, but I feel like you just have it in the bag.
Me?
Yeah. Is it because of where you live? Is it a New York thing?
I think it helps to be in a big city, but I don't think I'm necessarily the best networker. I think for me personally, I feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin when I'm like in the right setting. I think everybody can be in a situation that makes them a little bit nervous if you're out of sorts. And like for me, I'm never the aggressive, like I'm going to like meet this person and like purposefully network. But I think the more I've become like an artist who people like just know I exist to begin with, it's like way easier because I'm approachable and like I'm likable once I know you and once I'm accepted. So I always knew this was like going to happen. Like once I get over the hump where I'm like in the rotation and I don't have to prove myself to anyone, then like I'm good because I get along with whomever.
Yeah. Was the hair like a strategic choice to be recognized? I'm serious.
Not strategic in that sense, but I do get like, it's not even getting recognized. Like, oh, like that's, it's like people literally just, I'm way easier to find like in a club.
No, I did like, cause I just recently did this red thing and I'm like, this could be a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like, people recognize me, but you know what I'm saying?
I'm
like
sure people in nobody recognizes me outside of like a rave.
Yeah, right. Like it's not at the grocery store, but like at a club or something.
In Miami and New York, I could get recognized like in normal places.
How's
like,
that feel?
It's cool. I mean, it's not like I'm like it's still like because in Miami I live like walking distance to Space or whatever, and in New York I live in Bushwick where all the clubs are. So everyone are like I'm still in the places where like ravers live and exist. Yeah. It's not like we can get recognized like in a real like in an airport.
Did you grow up in New York? You told me that. What part?
I'm from Great Neck, so it's like right where Queens ends and Long Island begins, which is really nice because it was like kind of peaceful and suburban, kind of, but also like we're super close to New York City, like express train into Penn Station is 25 minutes. So it's kind of like best of both worlds.
Yeah. So you came up as just a fan originally, right? before you were an artist. You were hanging out, going to the clubs. What I'm getting at is, I mean, you've had your name associated with some major brands. And I feel like, I mean, I know you've been at this for a while, but you're still relatively young in your career. So
I'm young in my career. Well, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
how did it happen?
Well, I was a lawyer for years. Yeah, I went to Georgia. Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't know that.
No,
that's
I
like
didn't.
one of the things. I mean, I don't really like put it out there much, but it's one of the things that's like hard to hide because it's like part of my journey. So I went to Georgetown Law School, and then I got a job at like one of the most, fancy, prestigious white shoe law firms in the world in New York. And I wasn't like necessarily like obviously being a corporate lawyer is not fun. Mm-hmm. Making money is great, but like the actual work is not like very enjoyable. But I was, like I was making a lot of money. I was like young, living in Soho and Manhattan. Like it was a cool lifestyle, but I started to kind of just go out raving. I think I just kind of like came across the right parties and I'm like, I want to do this. I think I would be really good at this. So I had a unique path because I kind of got into it while I had a very high level profession, and I was also a little bit older, right? Like I think I first got into the scene when I was like 28 or 29 or so.
What did your parents say?
Everyone always asks me, what did my parents say?
So curious.
Well, my parents, again, I was already, by the time I left my job, I was already in my early 30s, and I had already accomplished a lot. And, my parents obviously know me and trust me. So, like...
Yeah. So it wasn't like you were, like, 2 years out of law school, and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to become a DJ.
Yeah. I mean, I went to law school at night and worked during the day at Georgetown. So that was 4 years. I did it in 3.5. So that's, like... years of like very intense education. I did well, and then I was at my firm for 5 years, so like I kind of put in my time. At that point, like what are they going to say, like
right.
I'm an adult.
Well, it had to have, it's given you the business sense to have success in this industry, running a label, being associated with places like the Mirage, and I mean you're running around with like the top players in the industry right now. And so I have to think that probably your law degree lent itself to that in some way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think like in terms of like hard skills at all. It's not like I learned something being a lawyer specifically that like helped me as an artist. But I think, first of all, just the fact that it kind of delayed me starting as an artist till I was at a more mature age, I feel like I had a more mature taste in music because I started
and like
later.
Professionalism
and
too.
Professionalism, exactly. Like being a corporate lawyer is like the most like buttoned up professional pursuit you can have. So it just teaches you, like how to speak to people and how to present yourself and the whole thing.
Those are skills that I feel like a lot of artists don't value as much, or they don't think are as important, or they hope they'll just get a manager and the manager will take care of that for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're just shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of it just kind of comes down to like who you are as a person too, right? Like the way you're raised and the way you present yourself. I mean, plenty of people, like my roommate in New York, Camino, who's like a tech house artist who's doing very well now, he's never had like a real job. He's always, because he started producing music very young when he was in undergrad, and he's just been working in music. And so he never like had some profession to like teach him how to be a professional person, but he also just kind of like is the type of person who speaks well and presents himself well. So he handles himself well from a business standpoint, I think, just because of like who he is as a person. So I think that's at the end of the day, like if you're all over the place and you don't know how to handle yourself professionally, like a job's only going to teach you so much.
For sure. Yeah. You don't need to go to school to learn those
what
skills.
I did was definitely overkill. You don't need to.
Yeah, you don't need to go that far. But I'm sure it helps with the legal side of the label stuff.
Kind of.
No?
There's just, I haven't really negotiated anything as an artist yet that's like really intense to the point where I need to use like my high level. Because I was in like commercial contracts, so I definitely can pick apart and negotiate a contract. But it's just such a small part of what you do as an artist that it's not that big a deal.
When I met you at Developed, I mean, we didn't get a chance to even really talk like before you just got on stage and you started answering my questions, and you were very direct. Like you're someone who doesn't mince words, which I love.
Yeah.
I hate people who beat around the bush.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that helps or hurts you in this industry? Because I think people are getting a little soft.
Yeah, people are kind of soft in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my philosophy in general, I think, is just you only have so much time in the day, so you might as well, or you only have so much time on this earth, like why spend time saying things that you don't really mean? And I'm a pretty nice person too, so I feel like I can be direct, because I think when people hear me speak, they understand I'm not like being a prick for the sake of just being mean. Like, I'm a nice guy, so I feel like it's easier to be more direct. I'm also a New Yorker, and we're obviously very direct people. But yeah, I think it helps because I'm able to kind of show my personality on social media or whatever and be a little bit more blunt at times.
Yeah. So before I met you, I didn't know if you were like talking shit to me or not when you'd reply to my tweets.
Was I talking shit?
I don't know.
What'd I say?
I don't even remember, but I couldn't tell. But I was like, no, he's a New Yorker. Probably, there's no harm in
probably
it.
it.
Yeah, no, but I love being in New York. Like I feel like I was a New Yorker in a previous life, and I feel like I can breathe easy when I'm there.
I totally see you as a New Yorker, 100%.
That's my like that. You know. If I could pick up my condo that we bought and put it there, I would, but it would be like $7 million. But
I was gonna buy a place in New York, and I did in Miami instead because I couldn't like fully afford.
Yeah, which is also a great move for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I land in Miami, I'm so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like same but different energy.
Yeah.
It's people who are
kind of. I mean, there are so many displaced New Yorkers in Miami, and people in Miami hate that kind of because there's like a big influx in the last few years of like even more New Yorkers. But Miami has always been like people from the Northeast relocating and people from Latin America relocating. Like that's literally what it is. That's why they don't have Southern accents. Like it's always been like people coming from other places.
Yeah. Yeah. And you did that for career purposes, obviously.
Kind of.
Oh.
I mean, okay, so I was leaving my corporate job and I wanted to buy a place before I left because I knew it'd be way harder to get a mortgage after leaving. So I would have bought something in New York. It's just so expensive. I didn't have enough money and I didn't want to commit to paying an even higher mortgage.
Hard to justify it,
So I, at the time, just like, why not Miami? Like, I'm in dance music and I love Miami and I'm there all the time. So, like, kind of for career purposes, but also just because, like, Miami is amazing and, like, having a second home in Miami is, like, the best.
The flex.
Especially in January and February.
Yeah, oh, my God.
And in a certain week during late March when the entire world descends on Miami and I could
December.
just be there and for Basel.
100%. So being in Chicago, being in New York, Miami, like artists who are born there and just like have their jobs there, whatever, their day jobs, I feel like it's a lot luckier because you obviously are in a place where there's a lot of things going on. Do you think that contributes? Like, what percentage would you say where you're located? How much does that contribute to success as a new artist?
It's a really good question. It's really case by case, I would say. Part of being in New York and being a New Yorker is just that you have, like, New Yorkers are more ambitious than people from other places in general. Every place has their own energy, but I think, there are parts of the country where, like, the culture is that most people just stick around and get married to whoever they dated in high school and whatever, like that. There are a lot of places like that where that's more culturally ingrained. And in New York, we very much have a sense of, like, ambition, if you can make it here, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Right.
and we all know what New York City stands for. So I think that's part of it, is just being in a place where there's more energy and ambition. But being around the music scene in New York, obviously you'll meet a lot of the right people and everything. Same thing in Miami. It helps a lot. But I think there are arguments to be made on both sides. For example, if you live in, like, Austin, Texas, and you happen to meet whoever works at, like, The Cut or Concourse or something, and, fill in whatever city around the country only has a few small venues. Actually, if you live and work in one of those kinds of places and you happen to be, like, like the opening DJ or, like, artist liaison or something for the one club that everybody comes and plays, it's actually easier to meet a lot of touring artists that way. Like, if you're the guy who's picking up the big headliner of the week
Right.
in your personal car from the airport in a smaller city, you're actually going to meet so many artists that way. And I feel like I know so many people around the country who develop, like, so many relationships with touring artists just because, like, they're in a small city and they're, like, the only person who
That's a good
who they
point. And the
interface
artist
with.
is less likely to be distracted because he doesn't have other people in town
Yeah,
that he's
exactly.
probably,
It's not
like,
like-
gonna link up with. Or,
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I just landed in New York or London and I want to do
Right.
everything under the sun. It's like, oh, I'm in Nashville. Like, what am I
Yeah.
going to do? Hang out with the artist liaison.
Yeah,
in
right, because it's the only
Nashville.
person who is going to know who I am.
Yeah,
Like,
so there's that, and just, it depends on your circumstances. Like, a lot of people live in one place and then they travel to New York and Miami and LA, like, constantly. Like, my A&R Hank lives in Austin and he's always
Oh,
in New
that's
York.
okay.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah.
in Vegas right now for EDC. So he's like, he has, like, a nice corporate job where he can afford to travel for
Right.
shows and to meet people. So he has a circumstance where he could be in Austin and go wherever he wants. So, like, it just depends on your circumstance. But being in New York and Miami, definitely.
Yeah, but you just got to make the most of the cards that you're dealt and where you are. And if that means, like,
Yeah.
you do have the means to move and you think that's the right move for you, but, a city like Chicago, similar to New York, obviously, there's so much talent
Yeah.
here. And so the spots are limited.
Yeah, that's true too. Although, I don't know, like, I feel like it's kind of a trap to worry about like the spots in your own city, because, like, the goal is to get on tour anyway. So
Right.
if you're in a place where there aren't as many spots, like, you should be thinking bigger picture anyway. I mean, unless you just want to be a local and you're doing it for fun, which is cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think, I've been on this crusade to empower artists to start throwing their own events. And I don't mean, like, not everybody needs to copy and paste the same coffee shop pop-up, but
Yeah.
there's so many different ways that it can be done. And it doesn't even need to be, like, you can go get a like $50 permit in Chicago to go to a park district for
Yeah.
like 3 hours and bring decks and your friends. Like, be resourceful and figure it out and get content from it. You can book yourself.
Yeah, totally. And I've definitely seen a lot of your content about this, and yeah, I think it's a big trend. It's something me and Kyle always talk to each other about. Like, we've both kind of put in so much work over the years, and there's still doors that aren't necessarily open to us. And then every time we kind of just do something ourselves, we end up having the same phone call that we've had like a million times where we're like, just got to do it ourselves, man, and just got to stick together. And
Yeah.
like, that conversation has been had so many times. I will say the only pushback I would have is, like, you want to be intentional about things and do things for example, if it's doing a pop-up somewhere, do them when it makes sense and if it makes sense rather than just doing it for the sake of doing it. You know, like for me, the reason I'm in Chicago now is because I have a 4-city tour with my label Short Circuit. First show is in Miami at Floyd, tonight at Spy Bar, New York at Silo, and then the last one in LA. And that's like an example of like, I just kind of like, it felt like the right time. And so we just made it happen. And the right venues.
I mean, those venues.
And the right partners. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the philosophy behind picking those venues for your tour?
Just, aligning where I'm at as an artist and what we expect the demand to be. And more than anything, working with the partners who we knew would be good partners. Obviously, working with Space for a Floyd show is like a no-brainer. Space.
Yeah, I really like Floyd. I went for the first time at Music Week.
Oh, really? It was your first time there?
Yeah, it was my first time.
I've spent so many nights there.
It's good. They had good, I think it was a Mezcal Espresso Martini.
Yeah,
they have good drinks.
They have great everything.
Yeah.
Were you at Slug Show?
No, I was at Josh Baker.
Okay, I wasn't at the Josh Baker show.
Yeah.
Slug Show for Music Week was really good. At Floyd. Yeah, Floyd, it's just, it's a very, it's just like easy because it's a pretty intimate space and it's connected to the most important club in the world. Mm-hmm. So like that alone, it's like getting 300 people to show up on a Friday night at Floyd is like very low risk. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, just working with Space on anything obviously is within our industry brings a lot of clout, for lack of a better word. And then obviously like in Chicago, house calls are amazing. Yeah. This is my 5th time playing with them, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had that relationship for a long time and they're just like, it keeps getting better and better every time. So that was another one where like I just called Abby. I'm like, I'm doing a label tour. We locked in something in Miami with Floyd. Let's do something in Chicago. And it's like, absolutely, because I already have the relationship of playing with them many times. And like the whole team, I consider each of them like good friends over, years of working together now. And then even in New York, like we brought the idea to Silo and we have that relationship. I've played at Silo many times. So yeah, just like, I think being intentional about where it makes sense and just leveraging the contacts that you already have.
Yeah. Yeah. I always I've coached some students and I've asked them, like where are your dream festivals or where are your dream locations to play? And they're just like, oh, all of them. I'm like, that doesn't work. You have to be very specific with, because you have to match a vibe. You should be getting down to what stage you want to play at a festival.
Well, I have a lot to say about this, actually.
Say it all. Mention it all.
Well, I talk about this with my manager all the time. She does a really good job of kind of like keeping me focused and asking me the right question of like, well, where do you actually, like as things progress, where do you see yourself playing? Which is a really good question. For me, I always kind of feel comfortable about my path because I feel like I know who I am and where I want to go and where I want to play. And those things change because the industry is always changing and what's cool is always changing. Like when I started 5 years ago, like my vibe was I don't think I've changed at all, but the more underground sounds that come from Europe are way more mainstream in the States now. So you could like 5-6 years ago, there wouldn't be any like underground minimal tech music at like an EDC.
Right.
But now there is like entire stages where it's like Ben Sterling and Rossi and like all these artists. So for me, I feel like new avenues are opening up, but kind of like my vibe has never really changed. So I think maybe I'm kind of rambling, but I feel like it's really important from the outset to know who you are, what kind of music you want to make, who are you modeling yourself after? Like to have a list of like, these are the artists who I borrow from and who I want to be like is really important. Almost like not like a mood board thing, but like you have to
Totally.
you have to know who you are, right? Like otherwise you're like, what are you doing?
Totally. Yeah. Take a look at the music you're producing. Who do you listen to the
Yeah.
most? What do you gravitate towards? Because, you know, being like a Tiesto, you know, a guy who plays everywhere and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for the 1%. And that's not necessarily like, that's a choice in itself.
Yeah.
Being commercially palatable, right? Like
Right.
you can appeal to a wide whatever, but like I think it's so much better to be niche. I've never just in anything I've done,
Are you calling me niche?
Yeah, but like that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I mean, if you're not niche, I don't think you're doing it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think all paths are valid, and also like you never know where things are gonna go. Like the most successful people started out niche, and then right place, right time. Like, I mean, even like I hate bringing up Summit in a podcast because everybody's always talking about John, but like even like what John did, like he started out just doing tech house, which at the time would probably be considered pretty niche. Like even like Defected, for example, which he got his big break on, is still like in a sense kind of niche because it's like specific to. It's not as broad as like what somebody like Tiesto does, but like times change and somebody like John was like right place, right time as like house and tech house was becoming the most mainstream thing. And now he is the next like big, broad, like celebrity level superstar as someone who I would say kind of like started in what would be a niche. So I think there must be like a million other examples, like not just in music. Like if but
I mean, Tiesto was niche at one point in the United States. If you think about, I mean,
exactly.
Because the United States has not caught up with Europe in terms of just understanding what dance music is. So what you're saying is like eventually someone's going to catch a wave that it becomes
like Nirvana was probably pretty niche before
absolutely
before like grunge became the biggest thing in the world. So like you kind of have to stick to something and take like you're saying, like Tiesto is probably the most. Tiesto or David Guetta are probably the two people who are the most broadly mainstream.
Like I could play it for my in-laws and like they'll, you know what I mean, but I'm not going to probably play Beltran.
Yeah, but you like even for them, whenever they started just being in electronic music was probably this weird risk that was kind of out of the box. So like I think in whatever you do, like you have to kind of just believe that there's a chance that whatever you do is going to become the sky's the limit.
I'm doing that with this podcast right now, Jeff. I don't fucking know. Like literally, I feel I've gotten the feedback so many times that this is so niche. Like because it is like a B2B podcast for artists.
But it's also like growing. Like I feel like the best example is all these kids who are on Twitter now because like there didn't used to be this community of people who like it's like a celebrity culture where people like talk about
they discuss
the artists and like what they had for breakfast, you know?
Yeah. Are you talking about the burners? Or are you talking about
just in general? Like there didn't used to be like yes, but also just in general, there didn't used like
there wasn't like discourse. Like
there wasn't discourse.
They weren't like being like photographed by paparazzi.
There used to be like show up to an illegal warehouse that somebody kicked in the door of because you live in like one of the 3 major cities that happens in. And now there's like people talking about like what Beltran ate for breakfast on the internet. Like,
I know.
So for you to be a podcaster in that space as it's like growing, becoming way more mainstream, and there is like more discourse and people care more about like the personalities of the artists, like you're just in kind of a growth sector, right? Like more and more people care about the things that you have. The more and more people care about the topics that you're covering.
When you
day.
like how it's applicable to artists, I feel like if you really got to believe, you got to trust and believe that things are going to work out because it's a scary thing. Like going after
it's super scary.
You know, you're like, holy fuck, like I could be potentially wasting my time chasing this genre or doing this or whatever. But if I really do believe like if you just stand 10 toes down on like your brand, like eventually you will find some sort of tribe.
Yeah.
Some sort of people who want what you're selling.
Yes, to an extent. I mean, there are so many examples of artists who like they never had their big break, and then they're in it for 10 years, 15 years, and then finally it happens because they put in the work for so many years. So that is definitely part of it, but I think it kind of has to be like deeper than like, well, if you stick to it, it'll happen eventually. I feel like you kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that, oh, like maybe it'll never happen, right? Like be able, like if you're like, I know this is a risk and it may never work out, but my life will be more fulfilling when it's all said and done because I took the risk than having never taken the risk in the first place. Like that's really where your mind needs, because at that point it's like there's no, because for me, I always felt like when I took the leap and left my corporate job and do what I do now, like you don't know exactly where it's going to go, but I felt at the time like if I don't do this, then my life will be in a certain way, like without a certain type of meaning that I was just felt like it
that you were seeking out of life.
Yeah, well there was no choice at the time. Like people always ask me like, was it hard to leave your job or whatever? I'm like, I feel like it just happened. Like I didn't even make a decision. It just happened to me. Like I found what I wanted to do with my life. So if that's how somebody feels, I think they should go for it. But if they're more like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I don't know if I should, then maybe it's not for you, right? Because everybody wants to be a DJ. Everybody wants to be the star, right? Like you need to.
And someone's always going to want it more than you.
Someone's always going to want it more for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that all the time when I'm like distracted, just sucked into my phone. I'm like, I didn't do enough today. Like somebody else is doing more than I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've swung too far on the other end of the pendulum in the past 6 months. And it was when I started to get a little taste of like, okay, I'm starting to like, my show's getting recognized, things are happening. And like, to be completely honest, I can't remember the last time I've had fun.
Really?
Yeah. Like, okay, that's a lie. I had fun.
Like at a show or?
Like in general. Like I had fun in New York because I like doing developed, like that's fulfilling fun. That's work fun. But just like fun being like spontaneous and going out or like whatever. It's been a couple months.
Yeah.
And
you want to come to Spy Bar tonight?
I do. I'm gonna rally.
Fun.
No, I wanted to come anyway, but like I have not been. The last time I've been out here was Spy Bar on my birthday, February 15th, and that was fun. But I go out a lot less than most people in the scene.
Me too.
You kind of have to.
Yeah. I'm also 35. Like
I'm 33. Yeah. Like because you got that in the back of your head. Someone's working harder than you. Like I work like somebody's gonna come take this all away. Like which is like.
You're also in a different situation too, because like I get to have. It's so much fun to play a good show. So like if I'm playing and it's a live room and it's a packed house, like it's so much fun. So like part of the job is that like even if I don't go out to whatever event, like the next show will come up. There will be the next. Right. But like for you, you're not the artist, so like you don't necessarily have that like guaranteed awesome time, because like it's so playing a good show is so much fun.
I can't even imagine the high that you get from that.
Yeah, it's the best, especially like just when you're feeling it and you're loose and you're locked into the set. It's such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Especially with all the hard work, right?
Right, because you're seeing it come to fruition in real time.
Yeah, you're like, it's such a release. And like as you're an emerging artist too, it's like, because you're not playing like a packed house necessarily in like a prominent venue every weekend. So when it comes and you've worked your ass off to get there, like, there's so much satisfaction that comes with that.
Yeah, totally. So this is stop 2 of your label tour?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your goals? And like, I guess, let me back that up. Like, should an artist, when you have a label tour, like, are there certain KPIs that you set? And you're like, I need these things to happen. Like a certain amount of people came to a show, or you got like certain content, or you connected with, someone in that city. Like, are there certain goals that you set?
I feel like content is a good barometer, because if like, not to be like a social media person, but like at the end of the day, you want to present the show that you had to the world.
Yeah.
So if the show is successful to the point where you can present something to the world that looks great, it's probably a sign that you had a good show. Just getting it done in the first place is kind of part of the point, right? Like just to be able to do the tour, announce it, show it to the world, and have it be right. Because I knew that the Floyd show, for example, the first one was going to go well, and it ended up going like really well, in my opinion, just in terms of the turnout and how everybody played. But like some things could go wrong. It could be like a bad weather night, and like you don't get as many people to show up. So like at the margins, you never know how everything's going to go. But I feel like kind of just getting it done in the first place was really the milestone, and then it's just a matter of like actually going through the motions and getting them done successfully.
Well, I was going to say too, thanks for bringing up social media. I feel like you don't follow any of like the marketing playbooks of like, you don't, of like.
Maybe I should start.
No, but why? Because your engagement, I was like clicking through your profile and I was like, Jesus, his engagement's insane on every post. Like it's so good. Yeah.
I get a lot of comments.
You do, which is like, that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Like you don't do like the text hooks. You don't do any sort of like, Well,
I think like I'm sorry to cut you off. I think I'm like I'm very good with. I was an attorney, and I'm speaking on a podcast right now. I'm good at speaking, writing. So like a caption or something like that is something that I'm pretty good at, and use it. Like you have to use the platforms to your strengths, and mine is like reading and writing. Some other people maybe like they just have swagger and like they look really cool, and so you'll get your engagement just by posting like your fashion or cool photos. Maybe some people, like a lot of people, are really good with like they're diligent about bringing their camera everywhere. Like Joe Luca is playing with us tonight. He's really good photographer. He always takes photos. James Weiler always takes photos everywhere he goes. For a big artist like Chris Sussy is always he has his photographer, but like he takes a lot of like street style photos and like vlogs and everywhere he goes. Some people are just good at like that aspect of like physically having a camera and taking photos or videos. So like you just have to recognize what your strength is, in my opinion. And mine is like, I'm like sarcastic, and I think like the written word is something that I use to my benefit. Yeah, no, that's such a great point about like figuring out what you're good at and doubling down. Like we were talking before we started recording that like taking pictures is not my strong suit. And so whenever I have to do it, I'm like, fuck. Yeah. But me just yapping like aggressively in a basically unedited video does really well for me. So I've leaned into that. And I'm always so jealous of like Kai's just aesthetic with everything. He's so Kyle does so many things that I could never do. Like his like design direction on photo shoots and like concepts and stuff. It's something I really envy. So you 100%. You just need to. If I hopefully everything keeps progressing, and if I'm the man of the moment and everything takes off for me, like it will be because I'm really good at making music and love being in the studio. Like I know for myself, I'm not going to get there because I've networked in the exact right way and met all the right people to get on the right stages, or like I'm not going to get there because like I just look cooler than everybody else up there. Like, so anytime those things come up where it's like, you should meet this person and network and this and that, like I'm going to do my best to be as well-rounded in terms of getting success in this industry as possible. But you have to like focus on the thing that's going to actually get you there. And for me, it's like my music is the thing that's going to, if I wasn't a good producer, I'd just be some guy, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it's really good advice. No, you really hammered that point home too at Developed. You're like, the music has to be fucking good. Like you can do all these other things, but if the music isn't good, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and it's like, it's not even necessarily the music. It's just, you need to cultivate the thing that you do that resonates with people. Like you're not an artist, I don't know, maybe you are, that I don't know.
No, don't even know how to turn on decks.
Yeah, exactly. But people know you and care about the things that you do because you're cultivating the things that play to your strength, like speaking on podcasts and all the things that you do. Obviously, that's completely different. Or, some artists, they're really amazing vinyl DJs or whatever. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be, or maybe their thing is like, I'm the coolest motherfucker in the world and I look sick when I'm on stage. And so they're going to lean more into like fashion and branding and that thing. So like you just have to know what your thing is and what your strength is and like focus on being the best in the world at that, in my opinion, being the best in the world at that. Because like when you force it in the other areas, it's like, I'm never going to get to the top because I've schmoozed the right person. Like it's just not who I am.
Yeah. So what are you most excited about for Short Circuit after this tour? What's the goal for this year?
The tour is definitely a big one. Like we've been pretty underground label that gets a lot of play from the bigger DJ. Like, we have videos of every Marco Carolla and Jamie Jones in the world playing our music at like the biggest festivals in the world. And so that's something I've definitely taken pride in up to this point. So taking the step forward and actually doing a live tour where people in every city can kind of see like, oh, this is Jeff's brand. He's been running this label for years and they have all this music, and like presenting the content or presenting the music like to the world instead of just to the DJs was like, that was a big step. So I really just want to, keep pushing. The way I view a record label, you have to look at people like Jamie Jones with Paradise and Hot Creations, and even like Tale of Us with the whole Afterlife visual identity and the shows and the artists. Like record labels for me are this ultimate expression of who you are as an artist. You have your visual identity, you have your live events, you have your graphics, you have the catalog itself, you have the artist that you're affiliated, so you have the roster. Maybe there's something culturally that links everybody on the roster. Maybe it's geographical, maybe it's the way you dress, whatever. But like for me, that's what kind of like what Michael Beebe and Pasta did with Solid Grooves is like creating this whole universe within your music. So that's like the grand goal, and so like just doing an intimate venue, small US tour is kind of the first step forward. But, that's kind of the long-term vision is to take when I started like Fuse London was my big inspiration. That's why I called the label Short Circuit. So like at first I saw what Enzo Siragusa did with Fuse, kind of bringing the whole vibe of the London underground scene to life and like bringing that to the world was really cool to me. So I think you can do that on like a large scale and small scale, and I just want to keep taking steps forward to do it on larger and larger scales. So tangibly, probably bigger shows, maybe invite some bigger guests, keep pushing the music in terms of the label, get more prominent artists on the label, just growth overall.
Well, I can definitely see you doing all that. I know.
So.
You have the tenacity. You have all the right stuff.
Thank you. I don't know. Maybe I should just quit.
You should definitely not quit. But I have one last question for you. What's the biggest animal you think you could take in a fight?
The biggest animal?
Yeah.
So it would probably have to be like an animal that is large but not very ferocious.
Okay.
Right? Damn, I'm blanking on animals. I haven't been to the Bronx Zoo since I was like 12.
This question was from Kai, by the way.
Is this like let the last person leaves a question for
no,
the next
but
person
I want to start doing that. They do that in Diary of a CEO.
I know. That's
yeah.
The largest animal I could take. Maybe like a...
Be realistic.
Maybe like James Weiler has this big dog called Blue, who's like kind of old and just mopes around, but it's like a huge dog. I think I could take Blue, and he's pretty large.
I need to get a picture of Blue.
He's my favorite of all of the Weiler animals.
I love it. That's your weekly elevation. What strikes me most about Jeff's approach is how he's built something that scales across markets without losing its authenticity. His ability to connect with independent promoters and create those meaningful partnerships in different cities shows that expansion doesn't have to mean compromising your vision or overstretching your resources. And his perspective on letting relationships develop naturally while maintaining consistency across different scenes offers a blueprint for any artist who's looking to grow beyond their home market. The key is not aggressive networking, it's about finding the right people who believe in what you're building and supporting each other. Remember, success in dance music isn't about luck, it's about strategy. I'll talk to you next week.